Okay, great. Hello, everyone. My name is Neha, and I welcome you all to today's webinar. And I would quickly like to introduce you to our speakers and panelists for the day. Can I request you all to please switch on your cameras, everyone on the panel? Hello, Basant. Hi, Mayank. Yes. Hello, Anand.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, so the topic for today is threat protection with Microsoft 365 Defender. And as speaker, we have Anand Rao with us. And he's a senior technical instructor and a cloud consultant with more than 15 years of vast experience. So we welcome you, Anand. Thank you so much for getting on board with us today for this webinar. And then we have Mayank and Basant, who are a part of the Whizlabs products team. So they will also be answering a couple of queries for you, which you can put in the Q&A section, which is there in the footer of your Zoom screen. Also, if you face any kind of difficulties, any technical difficulties, feel free to put in the chat box. So yes, let's start with the webinar. Over to you, Anand.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to start off today. I know we are all techie folks out there on the other side. Almost 15 of us. 5 minutes past the scheduled time. Apologies, I was stuck with something. As always, we in IT are troubleshooting something, and today's a weekend. You're not spared as well. So we all are excited to know about the Defender services from Microsoft. But before that, I'll quickly start with my introduction. Like Sneha said, I started with some break fix environments, troubleshooting on mostly Microsoft platforms. Directory services is my forte, working on the identity and access management systems from the past 15 years. And right now, from the adoption of cloud, let's say since 2012, I'm working with different cloud platforms, call it Azure, Microsoft services, other cloud platforms as well in Microsoft, not just Azure. But then Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud is also something that I've touched upon. Cybersecurity is something that I'm very passionate about. I learned those aspects. So also got certified myself on certified ethical hacking, CompTIA Security Plus, etc. And that's where security also came up into my radar. When it comes to M365 suite, the entire Defender suite itself, I've been in almost for about 1 year, right? So did my certifications on 900, 200, and 300 as well, and aspiring for the SC400 certification. Not this year, there's no bandwidth this year at least, but it's in the pipeline, maybe 2022. I will do an opening with 400, SC400. That being said, let's go dive into some of the aspects of Defender services. What I'm going to do is, as always, the rituals. We start with some presentations, isn't it? Don't worry, I'm not going to bore you with a lot of presentations here, but like I said, it's a ritual, isn't it? So we'll start with that. And then, of course, just like you, I'm excited to show you the things and what Defender is capable of, right? All right, so I will share my screen first. And that's another ritual. I usually forget that. Share screen and yeah. I'm not sure which screen you're able to see, but I hope you can see the slides here. Are you?
Yes, Anand, the slides are visible.
Lovely. So I will go for a full screen for a better view. And where is it? How about F11? Does that work? That works as well. Okay. So not much about me. You can Google me out and figure that out yourself. So what are we going to do today? Introduction to threat protection. So this is for the new folks, right? The new guys who are really curious to know about the security services from Microsoft. They call it as Defender. As on today, they call it as Defender, but then Microsoft has this background of changing names on and off. They used to call it Security Suite, by the way, Azure Security, and then they launched different products over a period of time, Forefront Identity as well. But today, it's all under one single umbrella, the Defender umbrella. And we talk about the capabilities of M365 Defender Suite, common threats and protection using M365 Defender. And once you have thoroughly understood the concepts of the M365 Defender, we'll of course look into the lab aspects as well. I've created a pretty good lab setup, did a lot of attacks as well. And let me tell you, when I did those attacks using, did some mid-tray kind of attacks, did some reconnaissance, just the reconnaissance attack, I accidentally blocked myself out. And then I had to call Microsoft and unlock my account. They did not unlock my account yet because they still need to verify who I am. So I had to create another lab account. So it took me like close to 45 odd hours to build the entire lab again. So yeah, before this webinar, I did have at least 2 sleepless nights, guys. So, and I will tell you how to do the lab yourself, so you will have enormous reasons to not have sleepless nights. But when you're doing this lab, you really have to be patient, okay? Because if you click a button, it doesn't happen that quickly. There's a script that runs in the background and a lot of things that churn through. And we really have to be patient with this lab specifically. And I'll tell you where, okay? So we'll do the labs. And finally, what's the fun without having any quiz? And what's the fun without having any rewards for that quiz if you answer it right? So Whizlabs will take care of that. There's some rewards and surprises for you in the end. So stay tuned, okay? Not just for the knowledge, but also for the rewards. So here, Microsoft 365 Defender. But before we walk through that, what are we protecting here? We say a lot about security. Microsoft 365 Defender is protecting us. Protecting against what? Against whom? They're protecting against the threats and protecting against attackers. Now, I'm not sure about your background here, but if you're listening to me and if you can probably do multitasking as well, if you can slightly put your background, let's say, hey, I am like 10 years experience there, XYZ, that will be really helpful for me to know who you are and your background as well. And I will look at that in parallelly. So you see, I've got this chat screen right here. So I'm watching the chat. If there are any questions, I'll address it right there. And I'll also look at your profile probably. All right, so I'm just assuming that you are kind of a newbie in the security area. So what would be a threat? In English terminologies, as for Oxford, they just say that threats are potential weaknesses, right? And the attackers capitalize on that weakness. And then they will use that weakness to infiltrate into your organization. Lovely. Welcome, Rafi. Attackers will cross multiple domains. So when attacker is trying to get into your environment, they do not do it straight away. It's not like opening the door right on the first day. They will do something called as reconnaissance. Now keep in mind, reconnaissance is a military terminology that we picked up from the IT world, yeah? So when a military guy has to say, hey, we are doing reconnaissance, what do they mean? They are just doing a recce on the enemy. So recce on the enemy means they want to figure out, can I take my equipments there? Rather say my artillery there? Can I take the ammunitions there? Do we have enough foods and supplies? Are we going to attack through road? Is there enough space on the road? Or should we go through the airway system or something? So that is reconnaissance. You got it right. Planning, preparing is what reconnaissance means. So when an attacker is doing it, attacker in terms of cybersecurity, when they are trying to do the same thing, they will try to figure out things, figure out about not the enemy here, but possibly a competitor, right? And how will they try to figure that out? How will they try to figure out their attack space? Well, emails, identities are user accounts like your user ID and password, right? Endpoints like your devices, mobile phones, Android, iOS, laptops, desktops, a lot of these, and applications. All of these have some point of resistance, some point of vulnerability, and attackers will use all of these domains that I just mentioned and the ones that are mentioned on the presentation: identities, endpoints, applications, and emails. These are the points through which the attackers will get into the infrastructure. They are also called as the attack surface. The smaller the attack surface you have, the better it is for your infrastructure, right? Now, today's defense solution, I'm not saying that Microsoft 365 Defender is the only one. There have been a lot of these right from time immemorial. You think about Checkpoint, it's serving the security world for a very long time. What else can you think of? There is Barracuda, Palo Alto, all of them have been there. And today's solutions like SIM solutions, which are aggregating all the logs all together, that's another new paradigm shift in the way we are looking at logs, right? So today's defense solutions, they have been designed to do a lot of things. Number one is to protect. Second is to detect. And then after detecting, you need to block. You need to block those threats. So protect, detect, and threat, and finally block those threats. From where? From each of these domains, as you see. So block, protect, detect, and block from identities, from endpoints, apps, and emails as well. All of these, right? So when you, as a defender, you are a good guy, right? You're not an attacker, but you as a good guy, when you want to protect against an attacker who's trying to exploit each of these domains, then probably you are protecting against your business being vulnerable against that attack. One of the facets of an attack maybe caught and blocked in an email. The same threat actor may have compromised identities by exploiting weak passwords, or maybe exploiting weak credentials, or by maybe fooling people into providing their passwords and providing their authorization tokens as well. Yeah. Cool. I got a message on the chat, so I was watching it. Okay. All right. Now we get a better view. Right. So that's that. So the whole Microsoft 365 Defender suite is there to protect your identities, endpoints, all your applications that have been onboarded to your Microsoft Azure, not just Azure, the third-party applications as well. Emails and documents, of course, in the Office 365. You may ask me a question, what if I've got a hybrid cloud? What if I'm using AWS? What if I'm using Google Cloud? What if I'm using SaaS providers like DocuSign, or SaaS providers like Box and Dropbox solutions? I'm using Salesforce or ITSM solutions like ServiceNow. You know what? It's all covered. So it's one-stop stop solution for all your applications, all your identities, endpoints, and emails as well. I don't want to be a sales guy at all. I'm more of a technical person. It all depends on how you look at it. So there's I'm not selling any licenses for 365 Defender here, but let's go further. Certain statistics that I would like to present on the screen. But before we talk about these numbers, I'm pretty sure you can read it all through. But today's security or the cyber threat environment, we as security engineers or we as security teams are constantly flooded with a lot of incoming risks. At the same time, there are tools as well that are constantly doing advanced security analytics like machine learning, and sometimes with their own intuition. We as experts are fighting back with agility and also adaptable defense systems. The security teams like you and me, we all have to comb through tens and thousands of alerts, and some of them are legitimate, some of them are just false positives, and they're noises that we see in the logs. And in spite of all our hard work, there's just significant damage, and this is just too much to handle, isn't it? Look at those numbers there. The average large organization has to at least look at 17,000 malware warnings each week. I'm talking about large organizations, okay? Also, 99 days is the median amount of time for an organization to discover a breach. That's a lot of time for an attacker to get into your organization and sip in all that data. The third point is that it takes less than 48 hours for attackers to take complete control of your network. Just under 2 days, right? And then there's $4 million is the average cost of a data breach to a company. But these are big numbers. So the Microsoft 365 Defender is an evolving tool. It has a lot of machine learning and the various capabilities that I just mentioned. So what this guy is doing is that it is consuming several signals from different domains. I take a step back into the previous slide. It is absorbing signals from various domains, identities, endpoints, apps, and emails, ingesting them and giving them and giving you basically an ability to detect, investigate, and also do some kind of cross-domain analysis within the Microsoft 365 environments. The data is analyzed, the low-level signals are looked at so that you don't miss any of them. And these individual alerts are correlated into something called as incidents. And that gives you a full view, right, as a full timeline view of an attack. So even before something happens to your data, your organization, you get a full timeline. You know, okay, somebody is trying to do maybe run a command called as net user reconnaissance or net group, trying to find how many domain admins are there in the domain admins group, how many enterprise admins are there in the enterprise admins group, which organization unit is the domain admin located. That's just reconnaissance. And to do reconnaissance, you will run some commands on a Windows 10 machine, no problem. You know, Windows 10 machine with a regular user account logged in will still give you that information because just a regular LDAP query to that domain controller, right? So even such low-level signals are captured. And as soon as they're captured, you get to know, okay, there's somebody trying to do reconnaissance. What's the next step? Are they trying to do privilege escalation? Are they trying to capture the password of domain admins? Did they run the Mimikatz tool? Are they trying to extract the password hashes of the admin or trying to retrieve the passwords from the memory? The signals are right there on the screen for you to look at. And if possible, you can, of course, customize it to get an alert. Okay. So what are the common threats we have as of today? As of today, what are we dealing with? A lot of them. These are the main ones, right? There's credential theft, malware, phishing, and infrastructure attacks. Credential theft is done with a tool, usually done with a tool that I just mentioned, a famous tool, rather call it as an infamous tool. It's called as Mimikatz. I tried to download the Mimikatz, and I spent almost an hour doing that. It was not that it was a huge tool, but so small tool. But then as soon as my antivirus looks at it, it deletes it automatically. So I had then had to go into my antivirus and put that folder in exclusions, and that's when it was spared. So you can use Mimikatz to do password spray attacks or harvest the credentials. Malware. What are examples of malware? Malware, as you know, it's a combination of two words, malicious and software. So you trim off the words, bring them together, it becomes malware, something that is a malicious software. So developers, not developers, but nasty, unethical developers will make such viruses, ransomwares, and things like those. And we call them as malware, something that is doing malicious activities. Phishing. Phishing these days have gained a lot of traction. So it's the easiest one. Just nicely craft an email, send it to a whole bunch of users in the company, and somebody will click on it. Somebody will be prey to it. They click on it. As soon as they click on the email or the attachment, a script that runs in the background, and that script may be copying a lot of data from your laptop or any other device to their command and control system. Yeah. So phishing is means of gaining access to your computer, your credentials, etc. And lastly, infrastructure attacks. Physical attacks, you can say. How can a physical attack be done? Can somebody just walk into my data center and try to steal some data, connect a pen drive to it? Well, that's not so easily possible because data centers are usually protected by multiple layers of defense. So you may have multi-factor authentication, etc., etc. But then what if a malicious guy writes a code, copies that into the pen drive, couple of pen drives, and throws it in the parking lot, right? Specifically, he knows the car number of the finance guy, and finance guy is not an IT guy. And as soon as the finance guy walks into the car, happily wants to go home and looks at the pen drive, he picks it up, goes back home and connects it to one of his devices. Maybe personal devices, in the worst case, connects to the office device. And as soon as he connects it, the script runs, right? So that's a kind of a physical attack. And then from there on, that script can move laterally from one computer to another computer to another computer and then to server. So it's all automation. It depends on the intelligence of the script then. Yeah. So infrastructure attacks are also quite possible. These are the 4 attacks that we are quite commonly dealing with. Ransomware as well. Thanks for chiming in. Awesome. Ransomware as well. Yeah, we're dealing with that. And I put that in the malware section. So we can put ransomware, viruses as well under the same umbrella, something that is doing malicious. Yeah. So timeline of an attack. This is something that I've picked up from the Microsoft website itself. I did not make it, so all credits goes to Microsoft there. So first blue section here, as you see on the top, this is research and preparation. Who is doing the research and preparation? The attacker. Which phase did I say? It is called the reconnaissance. How do we do reconnaissance? It's very easy. You do not have to be a techie guy to do reconnaissance. So if you want to know something about me or I want to know something about you, all I got to do is just type in the first name and the last name in Google, and it will open up all your social media links. It is also called as OSINT, open source intelligent information or open source intelligence sources. Data from previous attacks as well. Now, a more sophisticated attacker can go into the dark net, one of the onion rings or the onion networks, and then go and see if the data for that company already exists there. So he doesn't have to do all that hard work. If somebody's selling it in the darknet already, why don't I just go and buy it? Maybe employees' email address, first name, last name, phone numbers, the designations, their offices, etc., is already uploaded somewhere in the darknet. We don't know. So a research can start from a simple social media search, or as much as going to the darknet and figuring that information out. When the attacker has enough information, right, he will then go into the mode of actually attacking the network, actually attacking the laptop or a desktop, probably sending a phishing email, gaining access to at least one device. Let me tell you, the first device that gets into contact with the attacker is called as the patient zero. Yeah, it's a terminology that's picked up from the medicine world, the vaccine market. So the patient zero is the guy who first got the disease, first got attached or infected, let's say, with that particular symptom or something. So once that attack has started, then privilege escalation will start, or the elevation of privilege attack, which will then lead to credential theft, maybe abusing administrative credentials, usage of admin tools, and eventually compromising on the configuration of the machine. So that will lead to configuration weaknesses as well. So attacker is quite tech savvy there, goes from one computer to another, not just laterally, but also vertically. That means from the client to the server and then to the next server, and finally achieves what's called as domain dominance. Domain dominance is when the domain admin credentials are compromised. Domain admin credentials are the keys to the kingdom, like they say, and domain controllers are financially significant systems. And that's when these machines are like the most protected ones. They are within the domain DMZs, like they say. So DMZ is a demilitarized zone. You've got multiple firewalls protecting it, and the objective of the attacker is to reach there, because once he reaches there, he or she reaches there, they got access to your entire infrastructure, the data, the systems, your intellectual property, proprietary information, formulas, maps, it's all gone, right? Now, the next thing for the attacker is to look at where the data is and what they want. So from here on, look at the first blue part and the yellow part. This is completed. The main part is done within the 24 to 48 hours because this is a matter of tools. There are an array, a plethora of tools available in the market that will let attackers do that, right? And sometimes attackers, not sometimes, but most of them, they also make their own tools because they are tech ninjas, okay? And we are fighting against them. The data exfiltration. Of course, when I say tech ninjas, there are rookies, there are script kiddies as well who find some script on the GitHub and run it. It's all the risk that they are taking. But yeah, the next part is about data exfiltration, which the attackers spend considerable amount of time there understanding. And the worst part is that they go undetected for over 200 days. The number 200 days is a general observation based on Microsoft's incident response team's experience, which they also say is something similar to others reported in the industry. Precise numbers are kind of difficult because not everybody tells, hey, there's an attacker sitting in my environment for such time. Yeah. Imran Asadia, it may be quite boring because if you have already experienced all of this stuff, if you already know about the security patterns, it may be boring. But I suggest to be patient for a few minutes because we are right there at the edge of starting the lab. Yeah. Thanks for your patience, Imran. However, if you'd like to add on to something, please feel free. Thank you. Okay, so what are the capabilities of thank you. What are the capabilities of Microsoft 365 Defender Suite? Like I said, there's Microsoft Defender for endpoint. You know what an endpoint is. Defender for Office 365. You know what Office 365 is. Defender for identities. Identities is the new paradigm today, right? Earlier, back in old days when cloud did not exist, we used to all protect our networks. Network and firewall team was the team, the ninja guys who were always protecting our infrastructure. But today it's the identities, right? Identity is nothing but your user IDs and passwords, credentials, etc. They need to be protected. And finally, since applications are onboarded onto Microsoft Azure, we need to protect those applications as well, right? So that is done with the help of MCAS, which is Microsoft Cloud Access Security Broker Service. So if you have heard of CASB, Cloud Access Security Broker, which is a term that is coined by Gartner. Now, MCAS is a tool that does the CASB services from Microsoft. Okay, like I said, demo time. Let me quickly spin up my Google browser, Chrome browser, and I will also show you the infrastructure what I have. Okay, so what I got here, I've got two domain. Okay, I've got one domain controller. The name of the domain controller is EUDC01. I also have a Windows 10 device, by the way. Okay, so if I go to home and go to virtual machines, this is just for the lab setup. Okay, you can consider this as a virtual machine sitting anywhere on premises also. Okay, and I've installed the what's called as Azure Threat Protection Agent on the domain controller and the Defender for Endpoint Agent on the Windows 10 device. Now, if I navigate to this portal called as security.microsoft.com and then navigate to incidents, by the way, let me tell you that this portal is a one-stop shop. You would be able to see a lot of things right here. Earlier, there were different portals, one for identity, another one for endpoint, another one for Office 365 and MCAS. They're all different. But today, Microsoft intention is to bring all of them into one single pane. So when a SOC analyst is trying to troubleshoot something, investigate something, they do not have to go through multiple portals. Okay. So now I've got this incident right there. And I've got some alerts as well, but let me explain what the whole section on the left-hand side is. Now, this is a generic section. All the incidents will be visible here. Incident from all the options inside the Defender for identity, Defender for endpoints, etc. All of them will flow in here inside incidents and alerts. Now, what is the difference between incident and an alert? Incident is a combination of alerts. On the right hand side, I've got one incident. But if I expand this, I will see alerts. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. So these 4 alerts combined and they make an alert. All the severity is low here. Or we can see that these are impacted devices. We can also see email and collaboration alerts. I will not have anything right now. Okay, it's taking time to load up. Okay, these are the alerts I have, but email and collaboration alerts, I don't have anything yet because it's a new system. Like I said, it is still churning data. So when you are creating your own lab environment, it takes time to pull up information and create that environment for you. So sometimes you have to just leave it there. Okay. In the threat analytics section, you will see different kinds of threats that you may possibly encounter with. Okay. And is there any device that has been impacted? Is something that you will see here. If you see a lot of alerts here, it doesn't mean that all of your devices are impacted with these threats. No, it just means that in the world with other infrastructures as well, possibly somebody is going through a Mac Trojan attack. Possibly somebody is going through Nobulum targeting delegated administrative attacks. But are you infected with this? Possibly yes or no. And that is something that you can see under the impacted assets. If this number is 0, then we are happy. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Basant. So another point here is if you scroll down here, you will see something called as Learning Hub. It is for people like you and me who would like to be in constantly touch with technology. There are a lot of links, a lot of video sessions as well. So you can click on them and learn through yourself. And under the endpoint section, you got device inventory, where you can see all the devices that have been onboarded to Microsoft Defender for endpoints. I did mention that I've got 2 of these devices onboarded to Defender for endpoint, the EU DC01 and Win10 client, and you are able to see it right there, right? 2 of them. The third one is the domain itself. Okay. So if you are able to see the third one, yep, there's no data available. This is the third one. But you may ask me, how did you onboard this device? What if you had like 10,000 devices? Is there a script that you're running? Are you running some group policies on it? Is there some agent or some kind of a sensor you need to install on those devices? Well, the answer is that all of them are correct. You can deploy to group policies through an agent or a sensor as well. It all depends. It all depends how many machines or how much of workload you have. But regardless, let me show you the place from where you can configure that. So I'll scroll down further. And then if you click on settings here, you will see settings related to M365 Defender, endpoint, email, guarantees, and device discovery. The one that we are interested in is the endpoints. So now if I click on endpoint and scroll down further, I will see onboarding and offboarding. When I click on onboarding, I'll see different methods of onboarding a device. You can run a local script, a group policy, or deploy it through an endpoint configuration manager. This is what a lot of companies are doing these days because they all want to be cloud savvy, and cloud strategy, or within the cloud strategy, they say that we need to go for a SaaS first strategy and then next PaaS and then for infrastructure as a service. And because SaaS and PaaS are on the top, they do not want to have any security solution that is probably installed locally somewhere on the virtual machines. And that's where cloud-based solutions like these come into the radar. Okay, so you can either deploy local script, group policy, or use a Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager, or use SCCM, or use MDM, or use VDI onboarding as well. Now, if I say I want to go for a local script, there should be a download button here. So download on onboarding package. So what I did is just downloaded it, installed it, and bam, done. Based on my experience, it takes about 5 minutes for that machine, Windows 10 or Windows 2019, to report it back to the endpoint. So you will be able to see the device here in the device inventory after about 5 minutes. Okay, so After installing the agent, take a break, come back, and then you should be able to see it here. Okay. Under network devices, you can see other devices as well. So if I'm in the same network as my on-premises, I can download a scanner. This is good, right? Good for assessment purposes. I can download a scanner. It scans my entire infrastructure and tells me that, hey, these are the devices that you can onboard, right? Okay, so we were here in the device inventory, and we saw that there are 4 of these devices that are already onboarded. One more thing that I want to say, that if you do not have any kind of infrastructure, okay, if you do not have a virtual machine, and sometimes not everybody is equipped with the knowledge of installing agent, and even on premises it becomes so difficult to gain access to virtual machines like that, because I know that in large companies you do not get access to portal directly, the portal.azure.com. In that case, you as a security guy, what you can do is create your own lab environment here, right? So there's something called as an evaluation lab here. So you can set up this evaluation lab. See, I did not set up lab at all, and that's why it says here set up lab. If I would have done that, I would never see this screen. So good. So let's go get started. I'll click on setup lab. And now you see these options there. It tells you or it asks you how many devices do you want to onboard. So if you onboard 3 devices, it is valid for 72 hours. So it is a time bound lab. If you want to do something with infrastructure or with security related to Defender, then make sure that you're dedicated for at least the duration of time that you mentioned here, right? So if you onboard 3 devices, they are onboarded for 72 hours only. After that, everything will be erased. The logs will still stay there, guys, okay? The virtual machines will be deleted. You can still play around labs, look at the logs, etc. Okay, so I will hit next here for 3 devices and click next. Of course, I need to accept the terms. Okay, I will also accept this. Okay, now look at these 2 vendors, Attack IQ and Safe Breach. So these are the 2 vendors who will be running the attack on behalf of you. By selecting these 2, you are saying that, all right, I am happy. You go ahead and run those attacks, no problem, right? So we must first provide the consent to them. So I'll click on that, then say I accept, check these 2 boxes. And you also need to provide your data here, email addresses, first name, last name, whatever. And then you will start getting alerts. So what I'm going to do is just put my funny email address there and review the summary, setup lab. It is not instant. It's not going to happen even the next 1 hour, but we'll start to see what things are happening here. Okay. You'll start to see things, but at least you know that when you're setting up the lab, you know what to do. You don't have to create an Azure port, Azure subscription as well, create virtual machine, domain controllers, joining to the domain, installing agents. That takes time. So this is so easy, right? Now, if I click on device section, I should be able to see my 3 devices here. I don't see it yet, but like I said, it takes time. One more thing. After the machines are created, how do you run some scripts? How do you run some attacks? That is done under tutorials and simulation. So if I click on it, and then on the top, if you click tutorials, there are a lot of inbuilt tutorials out there. There's a script that will drop a backdoor script on your machine. There's a PowerShell script which will lead to fileless attack. There's an automated investigation backdoor. So all you got to do is click on this, read the walkthrough. It will open a PDF file. It is a small one. And then spend some time reading it. I suggest spending some time reading it, because if you just go ahead and run the script as it says here, you may not gain any knowledge. So if I was you, I'll go ahead and read what it is doing. Am I fulfilling all the prerequisites? And then go ahead and run that simulation. Okay. Do not do it on production environments, of course. Okay. Even do not do it on your laptop. Okay. So, all right. So just say get the simulation file. It downloads that simulation file, copy it, run it, and then it will start doing attacks on your infrastructure. Then you will be able to see a lot of these alerts here under incidents. Okay. You will see a lot of these alerts here in the incidents. So Yeah, that's about endpoints. But let's drill further into alerts and incidents. Okay, I'll click on one of these incidents, and on the top you see all of these options like alerts, devices, users, mailboxes, etc., etc. Let's look at the summary page. One of the most famous terminologies that are used these days is Mitre attack. Mitre is not a threat; it is a technique actually. So if I just go to Google and search for this Mitre attack, let me find the right link. Okay, attack.mitre.org. This is what's called as the kill chain, guys. Kill chain. Kill chain starts from the reconnaissance phase, as I told you earlier, and it moves from left to right. The attacker starts from reconnaissance and goes all the way to the right. This is documented under mitre.org. Okay. So as per mitre.org, some people call it as meter, some people call it as mitre, whatever. It depends on the accent and the locale they are speaking. But regardless of that, the attacker would follow the sequence as shown here. And what Microsoft is telling is that there are one of the Mitre attack tactics that has been followed. So let's say, oh, okay. So there are so many tactics out here. There's a tactic called as stage capability. There's a tactic called as bit jobs. There's a tactic called as cloud service dashboard. Which one of the tactics is it following? So what we can do is click on it further, click on one of them, and then you will see the tactic number here, T1033. Okay. Now, if I click that further, it will take me to mitre.org. That is where you can read more descriptively about that tactic number. The tactic number is T1033. Okay. So it says that system owner or user discovery was done. Okay. So if I read this, it's the same thing, system owner or user discovery. You can start to read through this and you'll get to know more information. There are certain procedures that are followed in that tactic. Those procedures are detailed here, right? What tool probably was used? There's a tool called as Baby Shark. There's a tool called as Bazaar. There's a tool called as Biscuit. There's a tool called as, there's a lot of these here. Which tool was followed? We don't know yet, right? So there's a probability that one of these tools was used and eventually leading to the following technique. Okay. All right. Now, going back to the summary section, here it tells me the sequence of events based on time. At 10:26, November 25th, 2 days ago. I told you that it took me time to make this lab. I've been preparing it from last 2 days. In fact, last 1 week. The first one just blasted because I just did too many attacks. I did launch what's called as the Mimicads as well, ran some scripts and eventually logged out. I got a message that your account is blocked out. You need to contact Microsoft. I contacted Microsoft and I have a ticket open with them. It will take some time to open it because I'm not a big company, right? I did that as an individual. But then I'm back to my own methods, creating the account, attacking again. So, but this time I'm cautious. Okay, so it says that at 10:26, the following things happened. Somebody anonymously looked up the accounts on the Windows 10 device. All right, so what happened? Let's click on it. And this is where you can see things more descriptively. What are the recommended actions as a SOC analyst? Okay, you are a SOC analyst. I can say that SOC analyst is a new help desk for today. Like how help desk used to help the employees of an organization to reset the password, etc., and always used to have a close eye on the infrastructure as well. Here, the SOC analysts are having a close watch on the security events in the organization. Yeah. So these steps are kind of very informative for the SOC analyst. And I did not document this. Microsoft documented it. So it actually saves a lot of time and money to make this knowledge base. I remember back in 2009, we had to create, when I was working with one of the companies, after troubleshooting it, we had to also write the logs and say, hey, this is how I troubleshooted it. And then the next engineer, if they face the same issue, can look at the logs and probably get some hints from there. But for me, I wasted a lot of time. And here, I, as an organization, I'm able to save a lot of time here, right? So the number of devices impacted, users impacted. So basically, it gives you the entire metadata of that incident, right? And if you're really happy, you can say that, hey, this is just a false alert or true alert. You can mark it, basically manage incident, and say that, okay, this is in progress. Classification, it's a true alert. If it is a true alert, and maybe I'm doing some security testing here, and say, hey, don't worry about it. uh, I just ran some scripts. All right, and I'll click on save. So when the next engineer looks at it, then he will not panic, right? He knows that, okay, there's somebody who's looking at it. It's a genuine thing. So let's not worry about it. So you got the options to manage the entire incident as well. Okay. And you can assign it to yourself. Okay. You can assign it more like an ITSM tool, how you work on the what's called as ServiceNow or the other ITSM portals. Okay. And you can also resolve an incident, put a classification there. Yeah. One thing that I like it very nicely is that just in case you're not able to figure out what this whole thing is, if you're in the middle of troubleshooting something and this investigation is just taking too much time, then you can just click on consult a threat expert. This means that you're consulting a threat expert from Microsoft. Okay. And I have not enabled it here, or have I? I have not enabled it. That's why submit is grayed out. So you need to enable threat expert consultation within the settings. Let me show you where that is. It's been a while since I looked at it, but if I navigate to the settings here, then go to endpoints. Okay, advanced features somewhere. Okay, Microsoft Threat Experts target attack notification. So you can just click on apply. I don't want to apply for it right now because it's an unnecessary thing for me, just a lab environment, but you can apply for it. And thereafter, Microsoft Threat Experts can help you do that investigation. Okay, we spoke a lot about endpoint security. Let's also talk about identities. I want you to look at another portal, what's called as MCAS, Microsoft Cloud Access Security. I did mention some time ago that it's the CASB, like the Cloud Access Security Broker from Microsoft. So if I click on more resources, right, I will see all of those shortcuts or URLs. When I initially started the class or this session, I did mention that all of these portals are still, they are separate portals. They are not all in one. They are not consolidated. For example, if I just click on this one, Microsoft Defender for Cloud App Security, it will take me to another portal called as portal.cloudappsecurity.com, right? You see this portal.cloudappsecurity.com, whereas this one is security.microsoft.com. Now, if I go to this one, device management, endpoints, it will take me to endpoints. Where is that? Yeah, it will take me to endpoint.microsoft.com, right? So there are different URLs for every little thing, for endpoint, for MCAS, for Office 365. Eventually, Microsoft will bring it all under the same umbrella, like I said, into one single portal, Microsoft 365 Defender. Okay. So now if you look at this MCAS portal, Microsoft Defender for Cloud Applications, this is where you will see things about identities and also about your applications. What applications are being accessed by which user? Are they using the right IP address? Is some kind of a VPN being used? Is there something kind of a typical time travel that just happened for the user? Are the attacker's credentials used in multiple locations? So all of these questions, or questions something similar to these, will be addressed here in the Microsoft Defender for Cloud Applications. So dashboard, we are right here in the dashboard. I got two open alerts. So you look at this, there's the risky sign in. I tried to log in with the Tor browser. I've got Tor browser installed on the other laptop, and I replicated a scenario where a user was trying to log in from New York, although I'm not located there. So the IP address from New York was detected, and that's why it's a risky sign in. You can configure things like these, that if the user is logging from a different location, enforce multi-factor authentication, or maybe ask the user to just log out, or maybe just block access if the user is trying to log in from a different location. These are called as conditional accesses, and that's part of Azure Active Directory though. So here, this user called as Joe tried to log in from somewhere, right? Uh, Joe logged into Microsoft 365 and his identifiers as follows. And look at that. This guy is also a global administrator. So there's a high possibility that this guy will also get logged out. We can know more details about it by going to the activity log. And there you go. You see all of these details, such granular level of details. I'll explain that to you here. So I'll just randomly click on one of these, okay? So there's some user who logged into one of the machines and ran these commands, ran an LDAP query to enumerate the domain admins. Why would a regular user enumerate a domain admin or an enterprise admin for that matter? Why would somebody try to play with a Kerberos ticket granting ticket for that matter? End user will not know about this, isn't it? And these kind of alerts is something that I will only see if the attacker has taken control of one of the devices. Now it's time for me to figure out from which laptop this particular thing happened. Just look at the IP address, 10.0.0.7. I do not have an entire CMDB created for this lab, but at this point, it's just picking up the IP address. I do not have DNS in my environment, and that's why the name is also not there. However, I should be able to see the name in some metadata, specifically in the activity objects. Let's see. There you go, win10-client.thecloudmentors.com. So that's the source computer DNS name. So I got the computer name, the Windows version as well. It's time to investigate on that Windows 10 device. Okay. So somebody who's looking at the MCAS portal looks at queries like these, it is really suspicious for me, because a regular user will never do an LDAP query on a domain admin, will they? They will not. Okay, so that's that. I mean, we can keep chatting about these things here, but let's go ahead and look at the other aspects here. Right now, if you scroll down, I've got lovely reporting structure as well, okay, within the Microsoft 365 Defender. Where's the report? What kind of report do I want to generate? I want to generate a report for threat protection. Click on that, and then there you go. You see detection sources for all alerts by creation date, detection source for currently unresolved alerts. So you can see nicely crafted dashboards, which we had to create earlier ourselves. Even if you have a lovely tool called as Splunk, right? I'm not degrading it, but Splunk is an amazing tool, which has been there in the market for a very long time. The SIM solutions, Kibana as well. However, these dashboards have to be created by yourself. Now, I as an admin can directly bump into not creating the reports, but just looking at the reports. Different kinds of reports that you can look at. What are the vulnerable devices? Again, device vulnerability, severity levels over time, severity levels as well, exploits available over time, device exploit availability. So I'm just giving you a food for thought, right? Food for thought, where you can generate numerous reports just at a click of it. You do not have to do anything. All you have to do is install the sensors on the domain controllers, install the Defender agent on your Windows 10 devices, onboard them, and then sit back and relax. And everything will be visible right here. All kinds of actions will be seen here. One last thing that I want to show you is about onboarding third-party applications like Google, like OneDrive. OneDrive is not a third party, but let's say you want to onboard Google Drive, or let's say Dropbox. That is something that can be done inside the MCAS portal, right? So first thing that we have to do is discover. And in the discovery, you can see different cloud applications here. Tons of them. This is the marketplace where you can just click and start onboarding them. The ones that I have onboarded, I can see it under connected applications. I have onboarded Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Azure. But if you'd like to onboard other applications, it's all there, right? Workday, which is a famous tool that is used by HR these days, or the HRMS, let's say HR management system, Smartsheet, Slack can be onboarded. Why do we need to onboard Slack? Slack is a chatting tool, you know, chatting and a collaborating tool, let's say. What if somebody is trying to be offensive there, or somebody is trying to send some regulated data like PII, personally identifiable information, or anything that falls under the radar of HIPAA, credit card information, first name, last name, date of birth, things like that is being shared over chats or Microsoft Teams, can be alerted, can be notified, right? So we can onboard those as well. Okay, so that was the agenda that I had as per the presentation. I'm open for any kind of questions that you have, and I'll be happy to chat with you. Imran, you okay, Imran? Imran Hassan? I tried to be entertaining, man. I tried to show you as much as labs as possible. Or if it's still boring, you can ask specific questions there and say, okay, and then this is what my expectation was. You can show it to me. I'll see. If I know something, I'll definitely share. I'll be happy to share with you. Definitely, Rafi. We will have the recording pretty soon. We usually publish it on Whizlabs YouTube channel. It's going to be there. Hey, Luke, thank you.
In fact, we will email the recording link and everything to all of you after the webinar. Okay. So if there are no further questions, and anyway, you can still post it in the Q&A section. So by that time, we can move further with the special webinar quiz that we have crafted for all of you. So yes, Anand, shall we go ahead with that?
I got very tough questions, by the way. Okay, just joking. Got 5 questions and 5 winners. And say I decided the questions, and the winners will be decided by Whizlabs. So there you go. All right, good to know what the rewards will be, right? So quick read, please.
Yes, so there are 5 questions, and we will choose 5 winners out of it. And these 5 winners will have the choice to get any Whizlabs course or practice test of their own choice. Also, for the other attendees, we have special discount codes for all of you. These are there on your screens. You can get discounts on the individual courses as well as the premium subscription. So yes, feel free to do so. Also, we have a special campaign going on right now at Whizlabs, which is the Black Friday sale. And it's not just a sale, it's not just about discounts. We have some amazing contests going on, and you can definitely be a part of it. I'm sharing the link with all of you in the chat box. And you can stand a chance to win Whizlabs swag kit worth $100. So yes, do participate in it. Okay, Anand, let's go ahead with the quiz.
Rafi was asking if he can use the recording for his team's knowledge in future.
Of course, you can do that.
Okay. First question, guys.
I would request all the attendees to answer the questions in the Q&A section and not in the chat box, so that we are able to track all your answers. Also, please follow a particular format. So if you're answering the question 1, you need to mention it as option 1, 1A, 2B, like that, so we can know which question you are answering for. Okay, please use the Q&A section and not the chat box.
Okay, you got answers flowing in. Let's look at it now. A lot of you are correct. So Defender for identity, of course, right? Defender for identity. Identities are coming from Active Directory, and then we have identities flowing from Active Directory to Azure Active Directory. So of course, we need to protect it. Emails, of course, Office 365. Endpoints, which are your devices, right? Defender for security is a trap. Defender for security is just a trap. There's nothing called Defender for security, because Defender itself means securing something, right? So it's just a trap out there. The answers are A, C, and D. Okay. Lovely. Let's take a look at the next question. Okay. Question number 2, please. Which of the following is considered as an unsolicited commercial email? The easiest one. Fastest finger first. Gaurav saying to be. Luke saying to be. Hanian saying to be. Wow, everybody is correct. Fahad, thank you. Raji, awesome. Okay, so commercial email usually happens through spam. So people send spam emails. Well, inside the spam email, there could be links or hyperlinks. There could be a virus attached to it, and it can eventually lead to probably destroying your laptop or you losing your credentials or something. Yeah, so spam is the answer, okay? Cool. All right. So question number 3. Which query language the SOC analyst must know in order to be good at threat hunting? Now, this was not discussed in the class, okay? This was not discussed in the session. So what I'm going to do is after this question, I'll take a step back, or rather, let me hold on now, okay? Let me hold on. Let me show that to you. Threat hunting and what is querying all about. All right, please excuse me. I'm going back to the security portal, security.microsoft.com. And within this, there's something called as hunting, okay? And hunting has got advanced hunting, where you can write your own queries. You need not be dependent only on the graphics that are provided by Microsoft. If you are tech savvy, if you are good with queries, you can write your own query here, okay? This might eventually lead to answering the question as well. The language that is used here is called as a Kusto query. Kusto, Kusto. And you need to start writing the queries here. Okay. Again, if you're not good with Kusto queries, don't worry about it. Again, Microsoft is there to help us. On the left-hand side, you got all of this schema built up. I can click on individual ones and then look at the metadata. On the right-hand side, you see these 3 little dots. I can look at the reference. On the right-hand side, I have got sample queries. So user in a country, list all the users located in a particular country. So if I click on this, I got a Kusto query automatically showing up on the screen, right? So you can insert the country name, run the query, and it will show the output right there. This kind of format is called as Kusto queries. The participants who are familiar with Microsoft Azure, and to be specific, if they are familiar with log analytics, you know what I'm talking about. Kusto query is more like SQL queries where you can use select statements, filter further, funnel it further to get some output like this. Okay. All right. So you know what the answer is, right? Yeah. KQL, Kusto, correct. Kusto query language. Okay. So I go to the next one here, but I'll go full screen. The next one, how do you install ATP sensors on domain controllers? Install ATP sensors, and there's a typo in the third option. I was working under time pressure. Some things messed up. So question number 4, please. Yeah. A, B, D, okay. So let me address this. For the domain controllers, you will use something called as a sensor, okay? The sensors are installed on the domain controller. So when I initially started with the lab, I said that I've got 2 of these machines. One of them is a domain controller. I said that I've installed the ATP sensor on the domain controller, and I've installed the Defender agent on the Windows 10 client. 2 different things, right? I've installed the sensor, ATP sensor. Okay, let me show that to you here. Go to Cloud Apps on the top right-hand side. If you click on Settings, you will see something related to sensor here. Defender for identity. Okay, I'm not able to find it here. Okay, here. You see this configure Microsoft Defender for identity sensors. I need to click on that. It takes me to another portal, authenticate myself. Okay, I don't know why it needs authentication 2 times, but yeah, okay. So I need to download the sensor from atp.azure.com. Good question, Rajiv. I'll address that. Okay, so atp.azure.com, and then you can download the sensor here. During the sensor installation, it will ask you for the access key. Okay, this key needs to be provided, and that's why I see the domain controller name. But then I think I was too fast in saying that I installed ATP sensor on the domain controller and the Defender here. So it's okay. It's a hit and a miss. As long as you're learning, guys. As long as you're learning, that's fine. So where is it? Where is the screen? Here, this one, yeah. So you need to download this sensor setup. It's a small package, I think 200 KB or something, and then use this key. And then you will be able to see all these domain controllers in this list, okay? Okay, Azure Defender. How is Azure Defender different from Microsoft Defender? Is the question asked by Rajiv Kumar. Okay. Microsoft Defender consists of those 4 things that I mentioned, right? Identities, Office 365, endpoints, and the applications. Azure Defender goes into the Azure portal. So if you go to the Azure portal, on the left-hand side, I've got Microsoft Defender for Cloud and Defender. If you recall, there was something called as a security center on the left-hand side. That security center is today called as Azure Defender. Names will constantly keep on changing. So anything that is there to protect the services, like what? Storage account, Microsoft SQL, Cosmos DB, that's coming under the radar of Azure Defender, Rajiv. Okay, going to the next question. The answer here is C, right? Based on my explanation. Install ATP sensors and do nothing. Install ATP sensors, right? Okay. Sensor, thank you. The last question. What is the answer? Yes, of course you can do lab simulations. Yeah, of course you can do lab simulations. But I want to show you one last thing, okay? I'm just being so curious here. Defender for endpoint, I did show you how do you simulate the lab endpoint, lab environment for endpoints, but I did not show you the lab simulation for Office 365. Did I? No, right? So let's get back to it and then we can finish it off. I'm yeah, probably taking your time, but please bear with me. Just I'll not take much time. I want to show you the most fascinating thing, and this is something that I really love about Microsoft Defender, what's called as attack simulation, right? You can launch attacks against your own employees and see how they treat that attack. For example, I can say, I want to launch a credential harvesting attack, or I want to launch a malware attachment attack or link in an attachment. So when I click on one of them, what will happen is that the user, our own users who are internal employees, will get a link and the URL will be there in the email. So we just want to check if they are trapped or not. So when I click next, I just have to name something. I'll name something here for the sake of time. Hit next. Select a payload. There are a lot of payloads here. Okay, so these payloads will be visible for the user. That means that, let's say I click on this direct deposit to Wells Fargo. This is what will be visible as a heading to the user. I'll hit next. And then I can say, who are my target users? Okay, I'm saying that send it to all my employees. Next. And then if the user clicks on the email, would he get some kind of training assignment, because if the user clicks on the email, then he's not cybersecurity savvy, isn't it? He should not be. He should just report that as spam, correct? Yeah. So if the user clicks on it, they will be assigned some kind of a training. The user has to finish the training, understand what spam is, and in future do not click on such emails. Okay. And I'll finally click on finish here, submit it. There you go. Probably Joe will get an email right away. I will launch an incognito mode and log into Office 365 and go there. Okay. And sign in as this guy, Joe at cloudmentor.onmicrosoft.com. Okay, I don't know what the password is, seriously. Okay, what I'm going to do is reset the password. Where is it? Here. Joe was created in a different tenant. Yeah. I'll reset this guy's password. Okay, that's the password. Good. It takes some time to the cloudmentor.com. Okay, I'll try again. Okay. There you go. It takes some time for things to settle down. It's not always quick. All right. So now I should have received an email about the spam. And if Joe is really not a tech savvy guy, he will just click on it and say, hey, what did Wells Fargo send to me? Yeah. Probably my bank statement, or maybe my loan was approved through Wells Fargo or something. Okay, did not get an email yet. Like I said, it takes some time for all this simulation to occur. But regardless, so that's what the attack simulation is all about. You can create the attack simulations through this portal. Okay, the simulation has been launched. You click on done, and then you can figure out more about simulations, how many users clicked on it, whether it was completed or not. Yeah, things like these. So that was the answer to the last question. Regardless of that, you answered it correctly. So going back to the first one, the answer is A, C, and D. Defender for identity, Defender for Office 365 and endpoint. Second one is spam. Commercial emails are called as spam. The third one is something, Custo language is something that you must know. If you are aspiring for the SC200 certification, right? 50%, more than 50% will be on Custo language. The next one, fourth, is you can deploy ATP sensors on the domain controllers directly through MSI packages. It's an executable, not through MSI packages. Just download, double click, install. And the last one is, yes, you can definitely create and simulate lab environments. I'm done for now. I'm looking at the questions in the chat. Will the Defender also work in offline mode? That means if the laptop or the desktop is offline, then, well, I think it's up to the Intune administrator. The Intune administrator has to see how many devices are online, how many devices are offline, and then take a look at it. But if the device is offline, the Microsoft Defender for Endpoint cannot detect any vulnerabilities on it. In fact, any detector cannot, any vulnerability scanning agent cannot find it. Okay, that's it, I believe. I hope this has been an informative session for you guys. Take this knowledge forward. Do not stop from here. Okay, go ahead and do your own research. Find things on the internet. Share things along your community. Create blogs and stay connected with us. Thanks for being with us and also connecting today, in spite of this being Saturday, you could have spent time with your family and friends, but this just shows how much passionate you are to learn things. Keep it up. Thank you.
Yes. So we will have our last thing from this webinar. We will have a quick picture with all of you. So those who have raised hand, we are promoting you to panelists, so you can switch on your cameras. And others, if you are interested in being part of this picture, please, you can raise your hand and we will quickly promote you to panelists.
Hello, Rajiv. Rohit, hello.
Hello. Hello, Rajiv. Hello, everyone. Okay, nice to see all of you. Okay, are we ready for the pictures?
Luke is showing his device. Is it like the Whizlabs portal or something? Okay.
Thank you so much. We'll see you for our next webinar, which is next week on Thursday. And you'll find all the details on social media. So do follow us. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Bye.